day three of the Manifesting with Music Scripting Challenge. And we're going to talk about the full moon today. Full moon scripting, some music and lyrics to go along with that to help you, because that is the focus of this challenge, incorporating music into as part of your scripting. And to help you script, this might be a whole new concept for you. And so that's what this is all about. Learning new things, trying new things, keeping an open mind. This challenge, I am incorporating two of my favorite things, music and the moon, to help you and teach you about scripting, which is a journaling method in which you write out the script of your life in real time. Just like you're writing, a script or a story for a play or a movie or a TV show or anything along those lines. You're writing it as it's happening in real time, but you're talking or writing about the things that you want to be experiencing. You're just making it seem like you're writing in a diary or a script now, to help you get into the feels of it, to help you visualize it, and to help attract the opportunities and the things that help manifest those things for you. I am walking you through the 4 quarters of the lunar cycle in this scripting challenge. We started with the new moon on Monday. Yesterday, we talked about the first quarter moon. And today, we will be talking about the full moon. So that, and then tomorrow, we will be talking about the third quarter moon. And Friday, I will be tying it all together and leaving you with a very specific exercise that you can take moving forward, tying this all together. So let's see. And this process that I am walking you through the lunar cycle and scripting and using the lyrics is part of my manifesting me process or movement or mindset or idea that came to me, because I realized that when I focused on becoming the person, practicing showing up as the person who already has the things I want, instead of waiting for them to happen, to show up, that is actually one of the keys to attract them. Start showing up as that person. So I had this idea. I'm manifesting me. I'm manifesting the future version of me, the up-leveled version of me who has these things. So it's an ongoing process. And by putting the focus on yourself and me putting the focus on myself, it takes the pressure off of how, when, what are the steps to actually achieving the thing, and attracts things that you didn't even think of, that you weren't aware of, that are surprises. The universe loves to surprise and delight, if you've heard that phrase. And then at the end of each day, I leave you with a song lyric to use as a scripting prompt, which gives you a focus, something to focus on your scripting, and a sentence starter to go along with that prompt. So the full moon time frame, which we're talking about today, and the full moon is a time, obviously, when the moon is its brightest in the sky. It is fully illuminated. It has the most energy of any time of the lunar cycle. So this is a time for both calling in, manifesting, and also releasing, letting go. It is the full shebang. It is the apex or the climax of the lunar cycle at the full moon. And the part that I'm going to focus mostly on today is a concept you may or may not be familiar with, depending on if you've, done work with the moon or done any reading or anything along those lines. I'm going to talk about the concept of shadow work today. The term shadow work was coined by the psychologist Carl Jung. I don't have the date, like the time frame that happened, because I didn't write it in my notes. But Carl Jung, the psychologist, coined that term. And what shadow work refers to is the process of focusing on our shadow self, which are the parts of us, right, that we tend to keep hidden and don't necessarily want other people to see. Could be traumas we've experienced, resentment, jealousy, fears, frustration, all these things that we really might not be proud of, don't necessarily like about ourselves. And so we tend to want to push them down, right? Keep them in the shadows. And so shadow work is not the process of getting rid of these things and saying, be gone from my life. It never happened. It's not that. What it is, it's the work of facing these things, identifying them, giving them a name, reframing it, and moving past it. And it goes in layers like an onion. You might work on something and have a shadow, address some shadow issues, and you think you're done with it. And then down the line a ways, something else comes up and triggers it again. Or you are faced with maybe a different layer or going deeper than you did the first time. So that's why it's an ongoing process, just like working with the moon is, just like becoming the person, that we are striving for. So it is the process of coming to terms with our shadow selves, learning a new way forward, releasing the things that don't align with us, like, jealousy and fear and all of those lower things, learning how to step out of those shadows and not being afraid of them, saying, yes, this is part of me. It's part of my experience, is part of who I am, but it does not have to define me. And a lot of times I think we as humans get caught up in that, I was jealous before, I was snarky, and so that's the type of person I am. It's the type of person you were. It was the type of person you behaved as maybe in a moment, but that doesn't have to define you going forward. So it's an ongoing process. And I like to talk a little bit about shadow work because we think it's like all deep and mysterious and in the depths of darkness because we think shadow, right? But what if you start to look at it like this? Shadows, like our shadow, a person's shadow, shadows of buildings, like actual shadows, don't show up in the dark, right? They don't show up at night. We don't have a shadow with us walking down the street at night that we can see. The shadows are visible when it's bright outside, when the sun is shining in the daylight, when a light like this, the shadow of the cap with these lights, when the light is out is when the shadows are visible. So if you think of the moon as this energetic flashlight, when it's full, that's the light, as if I'm holding a flashlight here, that's the light shining down and exposing or revealing or bringing your shadows to light. So it's not work to be done in the deep, dark murkiness. It's actually light work, if you think about it. Being done in the light is helping to reveal these shadows and make them not so scary as we make them bigger in the dark, right? It's like, the scary monster. We just think a lot of times that it's bigger than it really is. So shadows are visible in the light, which is why the full moon is a perfect time to do some shadow work intentionally. It is something that we can do at any given moment, of course, just like anything else. It's not about judging yourself, criticizing yourself, beating yourself up for these shadows that you have, in your life as part of you. It is about making peace with them, making peace with and accepting them, forgiving your shadows, forgiving yourself. I wrote this down in a specific order. So it's not about beating yourself up, but it's to make peace with it, accept it, thank your shadows, and forgive them so that you can keep moving forward. And there's two things in there that maybe stick out as possibly like, I don't think this is possible. Thanking your shadows and forgiving them. Those are typically the two hardest components. It's not always comfortable, but a lot of times identifying them and naming them, facing them, saying, yes, this is a shadow, that might be uncomfortable. But the parts that can get really hard are thanking, coming from a place of gratitude and forgiveness. And I will say, just like I say at every aspect of this challenge, it's always coming back to us. Come back to you. What can you do? What do you need to do to move forward? Not waiting for other people to apologize, not waiting for other people to fix things for you, not waiting for other people to take, ownership of what they did. What can you do? That's like I talked about yesterday with taking action. That's how you develop the confidence. That's how you develop that internal strength and power where nothing can mess with you. Yes, we get knocked off and it's a process, like I said, but once you develop this as a core way of being in your life, it's like, okay. Just to kind of break it down, I cannot remember where I heard this term from, but it's perfect. It's like, I'm unfuckwithable. When you get to that point, instead of beating yourself up, you come from a place of gratitude and empowerment in forgiving your shadows. So it feels or can feel very hard at first. It is a cyclical, repeating process. And that's the beauty of cycles. We go through them over and over and over, and it becomes easier. It becomes normal. And we can see the things that come up that are different from one cycle to the next. So it is an ongoing, ever ongoing process. And I always like to point out when I work with people one-on-one, and so also on this bigger scale, is that forgiveness forgiveness might take time. Because if you think about it, if you think about whatever it is that you've identified that needs forgiving, and it can be anything. It can be you need to forgive yourself, you need to forgive a circumstance, you need to forgive another person, you need to forgive a memory, you need to forgive an action that you have taken, thoughts that you have had, whatever the case is. If that is something that you've held on to for a very long time, and it's just becoming more and more, tightly bound and wound in this big knot, or I like to think of it as this big, like energetic tar bubble in your system, in your energy field, and it's becoming bigger and bigger and more, dense over time, the longer you hold on to it, why would we expect to be able to just forgive it in one go? It has been building and being fed and maintained and held on to, or even hidden in the shadows for so long that it's becoming stronger. It's not realistic to expect that you're going to do, some forgiveness work at a full moon and it will be all taken care of. It's a process. And what I realized in the forgiveness process is that you start to notice the differences. At first, it might feel awfully hard, and and writing out your forgiveness list or writing out the list that you're going to burn or whatever, may bring up tears and really challenging and unpleasant emotions. And it feels hard, but even after all that hardness, you feel just that little bit better right after you're done. Making that space, clearing some of that energetic space, you feel just a little bit better. And then you come back around and you do it again and you're like, okay, I felt a little bit better last time. And so gradually, just like gradually it became so dense, gradually it starts to loosen. And what I have noticed, especially with the challenging things, at first it's painful or challenging and you don't like remembering it or addressing it. And over time, it gets easier. Maybe you don't have as much emotion, or you don't feel that knot in your stomach as tightly. Or when you start talking about it, it's not as triggering. You're not talking like, like you have been. You notice that it's softening. And at one point, you'll notice that you can simply talk about it and share it and tell it like the story that it is. And you're just like, hey, this has been my experience. I used to be really pissed off about this. I did some work. It took a while. This is the process. And now here I am telling you the story. And maybe you can learn from it. It's this process of realizing, oh, it's not triggering so much anymore. I don't cry when I talk about it anymore. I don't feel rage. It's just kind of like neutrality. is the goal, because you're just like, okay, cool. I learned from it. It happened. I learned from it. Now I can move on. And that, when you realize it and experience it, is absolutely one of the best feelings and realizations that you can have. And so forgiveness is an ongoing process, and so is gratitude. So if you think of this like an energy, like an energy field, the things that need to be forgiven are, taking up space within your energy field, within your system. And so you start acknowledging them, identifying them, forgiving them, letting them go with the forgiveness. You're creating like this space. You're opening up energetic space within your energy system, within your field. And energy, is it energy? Doesn't like a vacuum or something along those lines, abhors a vacuum. So what do you do now that you've cleared out this energy and you have space? You fill it in with gratitude. And that might feel hard at times too. That's where you start with the baby steps. Okay, I'm thankful that I'm on the other side of this. Or I'm thankful that at least I'm aware of where this pain was coming from. Or I'm grateful that I am aware that I can work through it. Finding any little thing that to be grateful for, because even if you have to search, there is always something to be grateful for in any challenging experience. Now I'm going to share I'm going to go over the lyrics with you and all that. And if you don't yet have my Manifesting Songs playlist, all of the lyrics that I'm sharing with you this week come from that playlist. And it's a free playlist. So if you don't have it yet, that will be one of the links I include at the end here. I will share the link so you can get the playlist. And so all of the songs I'm using in this challenge come from that playlist. That is intentional. That's on purpose, so that the lyrics that I'm sharing, you can go back and reference the songs without too much difficulty. You can go back and listen to them in the playlist, and you can reference the lyrics. The lyrics today, and it might be a little bit obscure. I don't know. I honestly don't know when this song was released. I don't think it's a recent one. The lyrics are, because if it wasn't for all that you tried to do, I wouldn't know just how capable I am to pull through. So I want to thank you, because it makes me that much stronger. And because it makes me that much stronger are part of the lyrics, but I put them in parentheses because you might want to just start right. If you're journaling with this prompt, with these lyrics, I want to say thank you. And then you could continue writing from there. So, because if it wasn't for all that you tried to do, I wouldn't know just how capable I am to pull through. So I want to say thank you, because it makes me that much stronger. And as much as I love music, I don't have a great singing voice. And I don't really, I have to be listening to it to like carry the tune along with it, which is fine. That's okay. I can appreciate music and be a music lover and not be great at singing. I'm okay with that. At my core, I'm like a hair band girl, from the 80s and 90s. And I realized, all these songs really, I connect with a lot of them, and they resonate, obviously. And so I started thinking, these lyrics are like poems. And so they could be journal prompts, and I could write stuff, based on the lyrics. And so I really love this combination, because songs, there's an infinite number of songs that you might resonate with one day. Maybe the same lyric resonates with you differently. And so there is an unlimited source of journal prompts for you when you go look up lyrics, right, to songs that you love, and look for more inspiration in other songs. You start listening to songs differently. When you connect with them, it's like, oh, what can I, you jot stuff down. And not because you want to sing them or perform them, but you start jotting down lyrics or things that it makes you think of as ways to journal and as ways to connect with yourself and get to know yourself better. So, all right, the lyrics that I read are, oh man, I didn't put that in my notes. I know who the artist is. The artist is Christina Aguilera, if that is shocking. And it's called Fighter. Fighter is the name of the song. That's what I wasn't sure. But So Christina Aguilera, Fighter is the name of the song that those lyrics come from. The focus is to identify a challenge, a failure, or a shadow trait and thank it or find a positive about it. And if you're not familiar or you haven't caught the beginning in scripting, you're writing this in present tense. So you'll be writing like, this was a challenge today, and I realized that it was triggering this old story. But what I did or what I'm doing is finding a way to reframe it. And the process of reframing it really sucks and it's hard and I can't. So you start talking as if it's happening right now, as if you're living the experience and you're just walking yourself through it or documenting it for yourself. That's the voice that I want you to use when you script. It's not like a narration, like a narrator outside of the characters. That's not the type of dialogue we're going for, where they're telling a story from the third person. You're telling the story, you're writing it out as if the play is progressing, and you're the actor in the play, sharing these lines. And the sentence starter is kind of like what I just walked you through. The sentence starter is, it feels really hard to. But I know, and then you fill in that, but I know there's a positive. And then you can go depending on where you are. If you know what the positive is, share it. If you don't know what the positive is, you can write like that as well. I know there's a positive here somewhere. I don't see it yet, but I'm willing to keep an open mind and see what comes up for me. So write this as if you are living it and experiencing it right now, not in the third person and not like a narrator. That is the topic. That's it for today. The full moon, shadow work, and I have a suggested activity for you as well, like an actual physical activity that you can do. And you can do this while you're dancing, or you can do it by yourself. It's just called shaking, like where you physically shake your body. And I would stand up, but the computer's at a different level, so maybe I'll scoot back a little bit. So just like shake your body and actually shake like in a downward motion. You can go up here and shake your head, your body. Let's see, if I can get up here, like shake your leg. It is much more effective if you're standing, but it definitely works in a seat. Like if you want to do this at your desk, maybe if there's, there's not too many people watching or you don't care. I don't care. So shake, and you can feel the energy building up and like getting and releasing things from yourself. If you've ever paid attention in nature, animals do this naturally. Like when they've had a scare, or if they've learned like fight or flight and they've flown, they did the flight thing, you naturally see them shaking. Sometimes you might notice your dog's kind of just shaking, or cats. That's them releasing things naturally. We as humans can do it too, and it might happen naturally, but sometimes we have to do it on purpose. That's like shivering is an automatic response to help you generate heat when you're cold. You can like shiver and shake and all these things and like let things go at the full moon. Or anytime you need to. It's a great way to get the nerves out or the wiggles out before you give a talk or before you have a meeting or whatever the case is. Just shake, and feel it. Let all the jiggly parts jiggle, because that's what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. And just shake it all out. That's the physical activity that I have for you on this one. And if you want to dance around to your playlist or to the Manifesting Songs playlist and shake stuff out, then go ahead and do it and let me know how you feel. I mean, even just this little bit, has like some energy built up and I feel better. Not even better. I just feel like, oh yeah, like amplified.